Welcome back to Hot Take with myself, Terry Flewers, and Mr. Mark Goldbridge. Make sure you are liking, make sure you are subscribing. If you're watching this back on Spotify, because I know a lot of you are at the moment, Hot Take on Spotify, just go search it. Growing every week. Please give us a nice 5-star rating before the end of watching it as well. They're really important for us over here, if you're watching on Spotify, to get that done as well. Morning, mate. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, apologies. We should have been here on Tuesday, but I had to take a day off, which is I have less days off than the bloody king. So he actually probably has loads of days off. Prime Minister, he seems to have loads of days off. Who doesn't have? I have less days off than Gary Neville. He never has a day off. There you go.
This is true. And I saw you last night. You know, rubbing elbows with the greats at YouTube.
Yeah, me and Don Robbie. Yeah, that was booked in months ago, so I sort of had to do that. But to be fair, it was 2 minutes talking, and 4 hours in a car, and about 6 hours sat in a green room. So it was all right. It was a bit of a day off, really. To be fair,
I saw you there, Don Robbie. Some big wigs in YouTube. I got invited. I was invited to be part of that event. I was there. You didn't see me though. I was cleaning up all the rubbish afterwards. That's sort of where YouTube sees me in the pecking order.
Alice Talks Football was there, so you maybe didn't quite make the cut.
Oh no, gutted. I'm gutted. That'd have been nice. But no, it's well done, mate, for being there. And 20 years. It doesn't feel like it feels like YouTube's a lot older than 20 years, doesn't it?
Yeah. I just double check that. Yeah,
it's crazy. Been around a while. But viewers, listen. Hit like button, subscribe, make sure this is all done. Stretford Post here says, big up Terry and Mark, legends. Hopefully United will destroy that 2 in a row narrative this weekend. I hope so. Be nice, wouldn't it? I was talking about that on the United stand last night, that it's not been since February 2024 that we've won 2 on the bounce, but we actually won 2, 3, 4 on the bounce in that it's been 19 months of football since we won 2 games in a row. It's mad.
Well, that guy was so desperate. I think you see the guy in the Stretford end who was like pulling United Strand's hair. I think he thought we'd won 5 games in a row. I was trying to give him the haircut with his hands. I thought, bloody, we're only on 1, mate.
I think he was trying to steal his hair for himself. Listen, I've got a brand deal that I'm doing soon with a company that does hair transplants. So if anybody knows who that gentleman is, put him in contact with me and I'll get him a nice, hopefully calm him down a little bit. Release the tension in his life by giving him it's fun. It's not funny what happened to Frank, like genuinely United Strand, like horrendous. But there was, because I've got I like dark humor. There was this part of me that went, it had to be a bald guy, didn't it? It just had to be a baldy. Speaking of United, we're going to get into United in more detail, but we're going to go to the first clip. And this is from the brilliant, the majestic, the ever so articulate I actually saw him in a movie. Actually, I was watching Cass. I haven't watched Cass before. Sort of a football hooligan movie all about Cass Pennant. And he's in the beginning of it. I couldn't believe it, playing the young football hooligan. But let's listen to Rory Jennings here. Can you imagine Rory as an hooligan?
No. Let's imagine as a Conservative MP.
I know. I mean, the 2 things I've seen him in, played a football hooligan. And then when he was in and I'm a big EastEnders fan. It's my guilty pleasure. He played a very nasty, horrible boyfriend to Lucy Bill. But I suppose that shows he's a good actor.
Yeah, which probably, I've not seen this, so that's probably the bit that I need to know before this, because he's a very good actor.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we will, there is a big Saliba update that we're going to go into as well on the show.
I've seen that. Yeah,
just come out as well. Which we'll go into on this show. Don't worry about that, people. I know a lot of you are screaming about it already in the chat, but we'll do that later on. But let's play this clip here this is Rory Jennings talking very recently in the last week about Rashford, Man United, Amorim. Let's take a listen.
Is that Ruben Amorim in particular, his responsibility when he came into a new club was to make sure that the better players at the club were welcomed, a clean slate for everyone. Try and inspire Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford was always one of the better players at the club. I appreciate the text message. I appreciate the tone of it. He hadn't demonstrated it enough. He hadn't run his heart out for the club. He hadn't tried hard enough. But anyone that can remember Old Trafford absolutely rocking to the Stone Roses. Remember that? Marcus Rashford is Mank born and bred and all that. The entire away end at Stamford Bridge was bouncing to that exact song. there was once a love, and the love was born out of the brilliance of Marcus Rashford. I think that Amorim had a responsibility to try and coax that performance out of Rashford again.
Do you not think the relationship, though, with the club had just reached a point of no return?
Yeah, it had.
So what's Amorim meant to do?
Well, I think an excellent manager comes in and inspires his best players to play well, inspires his best players to stay. Part of your job, part of your responsibility as a manager is to make sure that the best players at the club are playing. I think Amorim is a dreadful manager, so he's never going to be able to do this. I think it's a travesty, though, to use an example. At Manchester United at the moment, a player as brilliant as Kobe Mainoo is sitting on the bench watching Manuel Ugarte play football. That's ludicrous. Similarly, when Ruben Amorim was the Manchester United manager, a player of Marcus Rashford's quality was sitting on the bench watching Anthony play football.
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. Anthony was actually out on loan for the majority of the time as well.
But this is what makes me laugh. It's like it's just noise for noise sake, and he probably has got on the tube going to Talksport Towers and going, I'm going to say this, this, and this, as he probably does when he gets the train up to do the bloody overlap. There's always a soundbite, and he's not the only one. You mentioned this last week. I don't think people have original thoughts anymore. I think it's always, what can I say that's going to cause a load of debate, and that's ultimately what the model is at TalkSport. It was what it has been for years. What's the big soundbite? And like, Rashford didn't sit on the bench watching Anthony under Ruben Amorim. He got rid of Anthony as well. In fact, Rashford probably got more minutes than Anthony. So that's wrong. Ruben Amorim does not have a responsibility to pick Marcus Rashford or Mainoo or Sesko or any other player. He has a responsibility to make Manchester United a winning team. And maybe picking Rashford would have made us win more games, but I don't think there's many Man United fans that agree with that. Paul Scholes this week was quite damning about Rashford. And I would guarantee, in relation to this particular person, I remember him doing a video about me when Marcus Rashford we did a video saying, is this the end of Rashford? Because he wasn't playing very well. Yeah. And Rashford put a reply in saying, I can't remember what it was now. It was something like, don't cause trouble, or fake news or something. And loads of people jumped on it going, King Rashford. And he did a video on it saying Rashford shouldn't do that. He should get down and work hard and this, that, and the other. So I guarantee, without any research, there will be a video in the last 18 months of Rory going in on Rashford, because that's exactly what he does. And it's exactly what other people do. And it's exactly what happened with the Spurs fan last week.
Well, let's take a little listen.
Fabrizio Romano, here we go. Longer.
Here we go, Bomba. Let's take a little listen.
The way that we're phrasing this, they want to leave Old Trafford. Yeah, Old Trafford wants them to leave. Like the view from the Stretford end would be, don't let the door hit you on the way out, lads. The reason that it's going to be very difficult to offload a lot of the players that you mentioned is the wages. There are people there that you mentioned that will be earning £350,000 a week. It's impossible to leave the club and match your wages. So then it becomes a question of, how desperate are you to actually leave? Are you making the right noises? Are you saying the right things? Are you trying to act professional? Are you pretending that you're putting football first? I really want to leave Old Trafford, is what you say. Okay, facilitate that then. Halve your wages and go somewhere. None of the players that we mentioned will be prepared to do that, which is why they'll end up sitting on the bench at Manchester United, earning the big bucks, fulfilling their contractual obligations. But then they'll be able to say, well, I really wanted to leave. This is all PR. If Jadon Sancho genuinely wants to leave, Marcus Rashford genuinely wants to leave, they'll get clubs. Of course they'll get clubs. They're good footballers. They're just not good enough to play for Manchester United, and probably not good enough to play for the club that they think they're good enough to play for.
Well, Rashford's an interesting one, because there was some news today that Nico Williams has signed a new 10-year deal with Athletic Bilbao. Now, he was a target for Bayern Munich and for Barcelona, plays on that left-hand side. But I think this is huge news for Rashford, because we know that Barca and Bayern are both exploring the option of Rashford. Well, now they know they're not going to get Williams. He bumps up that order. The only thing is, Rory, I'm astonished those clubs are interested in Rashford. I've got to say it. But I can't believe that. Apparently they're impressed with his time at Villa. All right, he was good. Was he that good?
But they're not. They're not. Like, if I don't know anything beyond what we know here as football fans. I don't know anything beyond what we know, what the journalists have reported and what the newspapers are saying. But if we employ an element of critical thinking, there is absolutely no way that the best team in Spain, currently the best football team in the entire Iberian Peninsula, is looking at Marcus Rashford and going, God,
I think that, well, with the Spurs one a couple of weeks and this, I think we need to draw a line under this and just say that, you know, if you're listening to this sort of shite, then, you know, you're not doing yourself any favors, because I didn't even know that clip existed. I knew the one about where he backed me over the Rashford thing, which wasn't even me against Rashford. But so I've just watched a clip where he's saying Ruben Amorim has to be welcoming Rashford into the team. He's a great player, this, that, and the other. And judging by his haircut, that's probably the summer. Oh, Rashford's not good enough. He's not good enough for Man United. He's not good enough for Barcelona. I mean, that's in the space of 6 months. And this is what I mean. I've said this so many times about that radio station. They literally don't care. Like, it's not about I wouldn't say they're paid actors. That maybe they don't realize that. But you're literally contradicting extremities. You're saying one thing and then you're saying another. And it's like, it's incredible that people are still consuming this. And I would say, like, I know Rory's a nice lad, but come on, like, you're an intelligent lad as well. Like, you're literally going from one extreme to the other. And that is ridiculous that you can say, I don't like Amorim. He should be picking Rashford. It's a disgrace. And then 6 months earlier, Rashford's not good enough for Man United. He's not good enough for Barcelona. He's got a bad attitude. It's like, well, you can't. But in fairness to Rory, he's not the only one, is he? You know, it's every bloody week. It's this. I get things wrong. I said Dembele should not come to Manchester United. He's got the wrong mentality and he's got the wrong hamstrings, and he's just won the Ballon d'Or. I'll put my hands up and say, I got that wrong. I got that wrong. I said Van Dijk is the Dutch Chris Smalling when he signed for Liverpool. I got that wrong. I'll own it, but I don't think look, if you find them, you'll find them. But if I do it, it's accidental or I got it wrong. This is just like the way it's communicated. It's like, it's so vicious. It's like Amorim's rubbish, this, that, and the other. He should have done this with Rashford. And then you're saying exactly what Amorim has done. He shouldn't be picking him. He's not good enough. He's got the bad attitude. And there's no United fan out there that thinks that Amorim treated Rashford badly. There's a lot of United fans like myself who go, I wish Rashford had fulfilled his potential under Amorim. That I always do agree that Rashford's a good player. And I said when he went to Barcelona, I actually think he is good enough for Barcelona. I think if you put Calvert-Lewin up front for Barcelona, who score goals because they're a good team, I don't think he's good enough to play for Barcelona. But I actually do think Rashford, I don't think he's better than Rafinha or Yamal, but I think he's a good signing for Barcelona, not only because of the brand and the followers and the fact that he's English and, you know, he's a big name player, but, you know, he will be a valuable player. We saw that against Newcastle. There's a regret that it didn't work out at United, because there was times where I actually thought he could win a Ballon d'Or, as ridiculous as that sounds. I don't know what's worse. I did say I think Rashford could win a Ballon d'Or, and I did say we shouldn't sign Dembele. So I have got a rich tapestry of getting it wrong, but I'll own that, you know.
But you weren't wrong about Dembele at the time, in the sense of there wasn't, and I don't care. Listen, I congratulated the young man. He didn't win that Ballon d'Or because of how talented he is. He won that Ballon d'Or because he changed his lifestyle, he changed his approach to the game, he got his head down and worked hard. At the beginning of last season, he was still doing unprofessional things where he was dropped from the squad. He didn't play against Arsenal in the early stages because there were still some issues, but he ironed that out and he worked hard. Now, the difference is we're now judging him, but no one with a brain ever judges football players purely on their talent. You judge it on talent, delivery, attitude, professionalism. It's all those things combined, one caboodle. And Dembele wasn't there. We all knew he had talent, but through injuries and a lack of delivery, it was absolutely right at that point in time to say, I don't want that individual. That doesn't mean people can't change as they get older. Same with Rashford. But with Rory Jennings, I think you hit the nail on the head. There is just 1 minute. It's laughable that any top club would want him, that he isn't good enough for Man United. And I think the Stretford Post got it right here. Basically, it's whatever Amorim does, go against it. And I feel that that's how a lot of football content. I saw it with Arsenal last night. It was making me die. The same amoebas that sit there and say, he doesn't take the cup seriously. The teams are too weak. That's why we go out too early. The same guys last night are saying, why is he starting so many good players? We're risking injury. If they get injured, it's on him. We've got Newcastle at the weekend. And this is the issue I have with so much content creation now. It is duplicitous at every level. And it isn't like a prediction's wrong. You address you got it wrong, why you got it wrong, how your mindset's changed. That's not duplicity. That's just called growing up. That's just called education. That's called learning. It's every week now. So hang on a minute. I swear you said Troy Deeney did it. oh, what City? You know, it's literally said it's Arsenal's job to beat City at the weekend. Their responsibility because they're the better team. The same man, the same news station, for 2 years when City were better than Arsenal, criticised Arsenal for not going to the Etihad and trying to win by playing pragmatically, even though City were the better team. And I just sit there and think this is so bad for football because we're not having honest discourse and honest conversations. Honesty, there'll always be mistakes and incorrect predictions when you're being honest, but it's the talking out of both sides of your mouth. I find it.
Well, it's trust as well, isn't it? It's trust. It's the same in, like, you know, if your best mate says, I'd never, ever talk to him, he's an absolute dickhead. And then you go down the pub and he's sat having a drink with him and you go, why are you having a chat with him then? And you're like, well, I just decided today I was going to. And it's like, I never agreed with Roy Keane when he said that it was a fair tackle on Luke Shaw when his leg got snapped. I thought it was a horrible tackle. I called it out at the time. But Roy Keane won't change his opinion on it. And at least I like a lot of other things he says. So I disagree with that opinion, but I trust his opinion in the sense that he will stick with it. He's not going to change it. And that's why when I see these clips of people and I go, oh, that's a good opinion. But then you find that, you know, that Spurs fan, I thought, oh, that's interesting what he says about Gyökeres. But then you show me the clip of what he said in the summer. I sort of like go, well, I don't trust your opinion then. You might go on to be a really good content creator, but I don't trust your opinion. And you can trust an opinion even though you disagree with it. Like, you can, because you can go, well, that's them. That's what they're like. They've got that flaw in my mind, but I do trust their opinion on some things. I just don't agree with some other opinions. And there's too many people out there who have seen the world that's been created, and it happens in everything. And they go, okay, I'm going to be a Poundland version of that. I'm going to script it. I'm going to go, how do I get there as quick as possible? So I'm going to say this about this. And in 6 months' time, I'm going to say the opposite about it, because I want to just be, you know, creating content that, you know, gets attention. And it's a shame because we then lose the authenticity and trust. I think too many people are, you know, it's lazy as well. Like, if I go to work and somebody asks me what do you think about the Man City game, and I go, oh, I can't believe Pep played like that. But then next week he does it again and they get a 1-0 winner. And I go, actually, you know what a brilliant way to play. Well, I've just, you know, you've got to be consistent.
No, I agree. I agree. It's one of the things I got approached a little while ago by a different VPN provider, and they were like, "Oh, what do Nord pay you?" And I didn't tell them, but they said, "Whatever they pay you, we'll double it." I said, "Look, I can't do that though, can I? I can't sit there for 2.5 years telling my audience Nord is the best. I've used others. I love NordVPN. They haven't sponsored today's show, but maybe they should. I can't do that. And then, because you offer me more money, go, right, guys, actually, X VPN, I won't say their name, are better, because they're going to look at it. My audience go, well, you're bullshitting us. You've just been paid more money. So for me, there has to be a level of authentic, even when it comes to brand deals. And some YouTubers hate that other guys get brand deals. But for me, it's like, I don't think I've ever done this. Maybe someone will find an obscure one where I won't be using a travel. I won't have a travel brand today saying how amazing they are, and then have a separate travel brand the next week saying, oh my God, they're the best I've ever used. And the following week, it's like Fairy Liquid. Every time they bring out a new one, it's like, this cleans dishes. Every other washing up liquid before still left your dishes dirty. What? Like the other one just sold us for 40 years. You're saying our dishes were dirty when they were squeaky clean. I just don't like that kind of thing. There needs to be some more authenticity. Viewers, make sure you hit the like button, please, and make sure you are all subscribing to the Terrace. On Man United, did you see the stat that's come out that Man United have been the most least efficient finishers across Europe in the top 5 leagues this season? We're underperforming our expected goals by 5.7, the most of any of the 96 teams across the top 5 leagues in Europe. And people still have the audacity to say our only problem is 3 at the back, Mark.
Well, it's not 3 at the back when you're winning games, and it's 3 at the back when you're not winning games. Formation and system for me, I said a couple of weeks ago, is just on the United stand. I say, look, I'm not talking about it because I'm bored of it. So basically, you're just saying Amrim out. That's what you're saying, and that's fine. The system and formation thing, you're Amrim out because he's never going to change his formation. So there's no point having the formation chat. And I don't know why certain people in the media keep saying he's got to change his formation, because I just think it's such a crap argument. But the interesting thing is, I think I saw that we're one of the best in relation to shots and XG in the Premier League this season. But this is where I don't trust stats, because if we're really low on finishing, what sort of chances are we taking? Because if I take 10 shots from the 6-yard box and we're missing 90% of them, I've got a massive problem. Like, I'm missing sitters. But if I'm shooting from the edge of the box into a crowded room, into a crowded box, and I'm missing 90% of them, maybe that's because it's an impossible shot, or it's getting blocked, or maybe I'm shooting it over the bar. So we are creating chances, but when I look at Sesko in the team, or I look at Mbeumo in the team, or Cunha in the team, I'm not seeing the gilt-edged chances. I'm not seeing the one-on-ones. I'm not seeing the cutbacks and tap-ins that we concede. So I'm trying to think across the season. Like, sometimes stats come in and you go, I can't think then. You know, if we've got a better XG than everybody else, and we're having more shots than everybody else, and we're missing more shots than everybody else, what am I missing? Because I think about Fulham in the first few minutes. I remember Cunha having a couple of shots, but they weren't like, they weren't big chances. Obviously, Bruno missed the penalty.
Do you know, I think it
Chelsea and Arsenal, there was a few chances, but they weren't. I don't remember a big chance against Arsenal.
So I look at it both ways. I totally get where you're coming from. I think there's two things in this. What Man United haven't had for about 3 or 4 years now are players that can consistently score. Again, the word XG is just I still find it alien. What we don't have a lot of at United at the minute are players that are scoring those half chances. And that's what I call low XG chances, are what we always used to call half chances. And to give you an example, if you look at Liverpool's game, Gravenberch's goal wasn't a big chance. Where that ball was bouncing, it was a very hard goal to score, but he pulls it off. You think about Mbeumo's volley against Man City. Now, that would have been something like a 0.1 XG opportunity. But, you know, the best teams in the world have players that are consistently scoring goals like that. And that's what I look at where we need to improve, whether that's, and I think Mbeumo and Cunha, Bruno as well, are absolutely capable of doing that. I've actually liked what they've all done so far from an attacking sense, but I'm still a little disappointed 5 games into the season. I know Cunha's missed 2.5 games really, but we haven't seen them do what they did so regularly for their previous clubs, which was get the ball out their feet, make a bit of space, and then bang it into the top corner. They were doing that about 5 to 10 times a season each, like between them, right? So I think there's an element of that, but there's also the chances that you get no XG for. So Dorgu against Chelsea, because Reece James takes that off his foot, it doesn't count as any XG. But as a football person, I see that as a chance because he was right there in front of goal and should have shot and scored. But I'm like you. I'm balanced with this. Do I think XG tells the full story? No. Do I think our conversion rate tells the full story? No, but I think they all play a part in it. And I think what's really interesting to that previous comment about whatever Amorim does, people are against it. I feel that if there's a statistic or a fact or footage that shows a positive for the manager at the moment, a certain demographic of Man United fans doesn't want to hear about it whatsoever. And I just think that lack of balance in terms of conversation and critical talk, I just think it's bad for the game. I don't think it helps the football club. And I think it's just about being more honest. Patrick here said, sorry, go on. Sorry.
No, well, I mean, Patrick's the voice of reason, so he might be about to say what I'm going to say. But I do think as well with, I said this on the morning show on the United Stand because I had a great drive down to London with a Portuguese driver yesterday, and he made 2 really good points. He said Arsenal finished 8th and Arteta lost his first 3 games of the season. He's still here, and look at what they're doing. And I said, yeah, you're right. And yet, Man United fans jumped very early. I mean, I know content creators who said after the Grimsby game, he's got to go, and the Man City game, he's got to go. And when you look at it, we have played 3 of the top 4 clubs in England in our first 5 games. Chelsea, Arsenal and Man City were all better than us last season by a long way, and they've all spent better than us over the summer. And yet we're saying manager out for losing to Arsenal and Man City. And when you break it down like that, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that some people have jumped really early. And look, you know, Alex Crook on Talk Sport, I heard him saying he's got to go, the manager. I mean, that's a journalist, apparently. There are other, you know, and that's, you know, I'm not just calling him out. Other journalists have done it. Other content creators have done it. Other fans have done it. And I'm like, you know, when you break it down, Arteta did lose his first 3 games in a row and he's still there. And look at what he's built. And when you break it down, Man City and Arsenal are better than us and spent better than us. And we lost to them. And people are saying, sack the manager. And I'm like, what is this frenzy sometimes? You know, we do start the season, like you said last week, with if it goes wrong, it's because we didn't buy a midfielder and a goalkeeper. Oh, it's gone wrong, it's Amrin. And we do fall into that frenzy every bloody time. I mean, I'm critical of Amrin because I don't like Bruno in the midfield, but I'm not at the point when we need to bloody sack him.
I agree. Patrick here says being inconsistent in your opinions is fine, but it's a lack of acknowledgement that you have to change, that you've changed your mind, or not admitting that you have got something wrong is what is annoying. I agree. I agree. And listen, there are content creators that do that all the time, and they attract an audience that also do that, like-minded people. It will be, my manager, my guy, t-shirts made, love this dude. Goes on a bad run, and I think sometimes they sit there and go, right, when's the right time to switch to the other side? They go on the other side, and it's just the guy was a fraud. No acknowledgement of that they've changed their mind, why they've changed their mind per se. It's just, no, that person was a fraud, don't rate them, etc., etc. And I think that's an important part of the conversation. It really, really is.
But if you said on this show, Amrin is, he's crap, and look at Rashford, he's scoring goals against Newcastle, and he should have given him a chance. He should be building the team around Rashford. Yeah, Rashford wasn't performing, but Amrim's job should be to get that brilliant player out. He's a brilliant player, and Amrim's failed, and this is another reason to get rid of him. And I said, Terry, 6 months ago, you said he ain't good enough for Barcelona. He's on ridiculous money. He wants to go, and he's not good enough for Man United. So how are you now blaming Amrin for that? And you go, well, I didn't know I said that. I just think he's a good player. I think he's a good player now because he's working hard. Okay, fine.
See, this is the thing for me. This is the content that would make brilliant content, not the soundbite. For me, the content should be, sometimes it's short format. Sky Sports, they're responding in the moment. They don't have the time, and I appreciate that, to address things they've said in the past. But on a podcast or on a longer format show on radio, it should be a case of either bring it up yourself. I said this once. This is why my mind has changed. Or the co-host says, well, you said this 6 months ago. Why has it changed your mind? Because that's the enlightenment. That's the piece where the viewers go, oh, I get that. I didn't think about it from that point of view. I understand. And we don't do this enough now in this space. Is there's no trying to find common ground with the person that you're up against. Someone said to me the other day, why don't you challenge Mark with the same vim you do some of your other panelists? And I'm like, well, Mark doesn't wind me up like they do, because me and Mark don't agree on most. Me and you don't see each other eye to eye on a lot of things, but I haven't ever said anything where you've just gone stupid or not tried to listen or understand. And I think vice versa. So there is less of a pushback. Me and Big Steve, when we used to work together, we never really had a clash, because I'd say something and his response would be, essentially, I disagree, but I see where you're coming from. I understand that. That's an interesting take. It's this notion of sort of not explaining yourself that I think winds people up. But I am always suspicious of people that don't want to explain why they've changed their mind, because that tells me there is the potential. There is the potential that you're just saying this because it's fashionable, as opposed to it's an actual thought you believe in. So, and that's why I think
the calculated,
yeah,
which is worse in my opinion, because it's prepared to generate views, or it's a lack of intelligence, self-awareness that you've actually said that before, because you actually just wake up and go, today I'm going to feel like this. And it doesn't matter. I don't remember what I said 6 months ago. And look, I've seen that a lot when I was at Talk, and I've seen it, a lot. They there'll be certain people who literally 2 weeks ago have a polar opposite opinion.
Totally agree, mate. On polar opposite opinions, and going from United who are in trouble to Arsenal that are up near the top. Breaking news: William Saliba commits his future to Arsenal by agreeing a 5-year contract. 24-year-old entered his final 2 years of his deal. It's going to run till 2030. Massive news for Arsenal Football Club. This.
Yeah, it's I would have thought logically maybe he would be one of those players like a Salah or a Ronaldo from us who does end up going to Real Madrid or Barcelona because he's that quality. But it's another huge step for Arsenal. I mean, if it was Arteta, I'd probably be looking at that and going, that's not good for me, is it? Because it just shows this long-term plan. And I mean, look, I think Arsenal drawing last week, and funnily enough, Saliba was at fault for that goal because I wouldn't have picked him. I think he looked like he wasn't match fit and he made a mistake. It massively puts the advantage in Liverpool's favour, and maybe Arsenal won't win the league, and maybe they won't win the Champions League. And I think some Arsenal fans will be saying, well, that's it, he's got to go. But that's, fan theory is not the same as club plan. And I think even if Arsenal finish second or third and, got knocked out in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, I still don't think they'd move Arteta on. I still think they think that they're building something here that will end up with a title at some point. I mean, I might be completely wrong on that. And look, I'll put my hands up and say he's got to win something this year, but it doesn't mean he gets sacked. It doesn't mean he will. And signings like that just show that they are, trying to, build something that's sustainable and long term. And I think that transfer window showed that. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed with Arsenal, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, it's a very good indicator of their long term projections and plans.
Yeah, I think I've said this for a few years now about Arsenal with these new deals. I remember even Arsenal in their pomp under Wenger, they'd done double, they'd done the Invincibles, they got to a Champions League final. But then they started to lose the Vieiras and the Henrys, and it just felt like from about 2005 onwards, it felt as though whenever their best players reached their peak or just before their peak, it just felt consistently like they lost them. And they'd lose them to a Barca, a Real Madrid, a Manchester United. City took a lot of their players. And I remember having this conversation back in 22, 23 with, quite a few Gooners. And I said, look, I know you're really happy with the growth this year. You're in the title race. But I said, don't take your foot off your owner's neck, in the sense of they've got to keep investing, which by and large they've done, probably barring last summer. But can you keep your better players? Because that, for me, is where Arsenal, in the last 5 to 8 years of Wenger, went wrong, is they lost their better players. And they could never build a squad that's as good and as deep as this. And I think you don't have to rate all the players, and Arsenal fans don't, but the new deals for all these individuals, it looks like Saka's going to get a new deal as well. It does two things. It either keeps these players at your club, which is important because they're your best players, or at least maintains their value. So if you sell them, you're getting big bucks. And Arsenal are not notoriously good at selling, and that may not change. But if you've got a Saliba with a contract with 2023, he ain't going for free 2030. He isn't leaving for free like Trent Alexander-Arnold. So I think personally, this is absolutely massive for Arsenal. A great young defender. I say young, 24 now, on his way to being the best. But yeah, he's here to stay at Arsenal, and I think Gooners should be absolutely over the moon with that. Personally, I really, really do. Viewers, do us a big favor, please hit that like and the share button. Speaking of Arsenal, this is Pitchside talking a bit about. It's only 5 games in, but let's take a little listen to this.
Shows how Arsenal are as a team, and I think it comes from your manager. And this is why you won't win the league. And time again, your manager sets up for draws in the big games. He's more bothered about not losing than winning. Your players are celebrating in the corner against, by the way, a team you're better than. You're better than City right now. You've actually got the best squad in the league. You're at home against a Man City side who've gone there, sat back and defended against you because they recognise you're better than them. And still, when you get a goal in the 92nd minute, you're too busy in the corner going mad because the way your mentality is as a team, because of your gaffer, you're buzzing with a draw when actually you should be winning that game because you're better than City. And this is why you won't win the league.
Are they not going to win the league? 5 games in? Sorry.
Well, I predicted they would win the league, and I won't withdraw that after 5 games because it's too early. And I do think that Liverpool, I don't believe in stats and everything like that, but I saw something this week that Liverpool really should be about 8th. I don't know how that works. What do you mean they really should be 8th? They're first. This is the real world. They're top. What do you mean they really should be 8th? Well, if you put it in, no. The real world has put them top, so they're top. But I think I wouldn't say Arsenal aren't going to win the league yet, but I do think they've done themselves some damage. And I think Tom's absolutely spot on. I really, completely agree. And I'd already said it on Sunday, straight after the game and during the watch along, that I spoke to Robbie about this as well from AFTV. Absolutely agree with it. Like, Man City were scared of Arsenal. The tables have turned completely from 2 years ago, where Arsenal would do that to City because they knew City were better than them. I said Arsenal needed to win that game. I don't think they approached the game to win that game. And I think Arteta is too in the shadow of Pep it's like the fucking, you know, the trainee who is now better than the teacher, but still wiping his arse for him. And it's like, before the game, I saw him going along the City coaching thing, shaking their hands and stuff like that. And that's great. Do it after the fucking game. It's like Roy Keane in the tunnel, right? He might have an Irish teammate next to him as captain. I ain't fucking talking to you until after the game. And I think Arteta has done a great job at Arsenal. And I think he gets unfair criticism. And I've defended him a lot. But my stance is always that, like, even if I really respect somebody, and even if I really like them, and even if I'm always going to have their back, if they do something I don't agree with, I have to be true to myself and say, I think you got that wrong. I'm still going to have you back, but I do think you got that wrong. It's like Amorim. I want Amorim to do well, but I don't agree with Bruno in the midfield. And if anybody says about that, I'll go, well, I totally agree with you. I do not like it. And with Arteta, I think last Sunday, he went too defensive, and it was almost like Arsenal took the draw and were like, I mean, I saw Cecil on AFTV and everyone going, and I'm like, you know what? One thing I will say about United fans is there's no way, if we should have beat Man City and we're better than Man City and they've parked the bus against us and we get a late equaliser, there's no way United fans are going to stand there and go, you know what? And that's it. And I think Liverpool fans might be the same, and maybe Chelsea fans the same. And that's something Arsenal just don't have, is that know-how to win. And Arteta doesn't have that know-how to win and doesn't seem to have that drive. I still think it'll happen, but there's, you know, these are still the things that Arsenal need to iron out, because as you were saying, Terry, Saliba, Mascara, Gabriel, Calafiore, Timber, Ben White, Kepa, Raya, Rice, Zubimendi, Norgard, Wanyeri, Moreno, Havertz, Gyökeres, Eze, Madueke, Saka, Martinelli. They've got a really, really good squad, but they've desperately got to learn to back themselves and be more on the front foot, because they can do it, but they've got a bit reserved, a bit too reserved. And
I look at it as a combination of a mixture of things here. So I don't think the celebration of the goal, for me, I don't think that's an indicator they can't win the league, because I've seen Liverpool do the same thing at the same ground last season with not even a late equaliser, as late as theirs was in extra time in the 81st.
Oh, no, celebrating the goal is absolutely fine. I'd be running with the top off, because I didn't think they were going to do it. And it was a brilliant goal. I
agree. My thing was more the starting lineup wasn't right, in the sense of as they should have started the game and everything else. So that's where I think this is what I think happens when it comes to the hot takes on this, is that people want to make it baby in the bathwater. It's like, okay, taking that ball back to the halfway line isn't going to speed things up too much, because the goal, and every goal, is checked by VAR. It was fairly close as well to being offside. So whilst they're celebrating for 30 or 40 seconds, Zubimendi went and grabbed the ball, which was just, no one saw it in real time because the camera angle didn't show you. It's gone viral since, but yet people are still talking like he didn't. The celebration lasted about 40 seconds. They were still, while they were all standing there for about another 30 seconds when the ball was placed, they're waiting for VAR to confirm the goal. So that element is, that part, it's the correlation thing. We all saw Hugo Ekitike get sent off, holding his shirt up in that moment. If that was an Arsenal player, it would be, that's why they can't win the league, because their mindset and their mentality is wrong. There's no correlation and causation, because teams that do win also do those things. So it's a nonsense. But I do agree with you with them being slight again, and it's slightly more attacking. Should they have started that game with no defensive-minded midfielders and gone all-out attack and left themselves wide open for the counter? No, that would be stupid. And I just think sometimes the analysis is a little over the top. Rob here says, when we used to get slapped 5-0 every season, it was, you need to be more compact and not so naive. Now when we are compact and hard to beat, Arteta is a coward.
But I think the problem is he wasted 45 minutes in that game. He should have started Eze instead of Trossard, and Moreno in the midfield made you, even more compactive. And the thing that Tom's talking about there, and the thing that I think we're talking about here, is that Haaland scored quite early, and Arteta didn't wait till half time. And I think more attacking managers would have gone, okay, I've put a team out here to get the first goal and stay compact. They've got the first goal and they've gone compact. my setup's not right. I need to tweak this now. And he didn't do it quick enough. And, you know, maybe if you'd done it 20 minutes before half time, maybe you equalise before half time and then you win it in the second half. And the second thing is, it's all right going compact if you're playing PSG away in the Champions League semi-final, but you're playing Man City at home who've lost 2 of their first 4, are vulnerable and are not very good. You know, don't get kidded by the fact that Man City have beat Man United and Wolves, that Man City are a good side. They're not. Brighton and Spurs dealt with them quite comfortably. They are a new team that are learning and are vulnerable. And Arsenal should have given them a tougher game than they did. I've never disrespect Man City and say Arsenal should have won it, because Man City are capable of getting a result. But Arsenal had everything in their favour. Plus, Man City had played Thursday, Arsenal had played Tuesday. It was at the Etihad. It was a game Arsenal needed to win because they'd already lost to Liverpool. And I think where I would agree with an Arsenal fan is the ingredients that Arteta put out weren't sufficient to produce a win. And there'd be a lot of regrets in that. A draw's not the end of the world. They're not out of the title race, but he could have been. He showed too much respect to a Man City team that doesn't actually exist at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And do you know what I say, Rob, to your take? It's the opposite to a hot take. It's balance. I don't think anyone's asking you to be gun-ho crazy. It's literally slightly more attacking. I think
if he picked Eze, I don't think anyone would have had the one player.
Exactly. You're talking a real big thing. Why does everyone only use what ifs to make definitive decisions on Arsenal? Well, you have to use what ifs, hypotheticals in certain elements of football analysis. So, could they have won if they'd done this? When the debate is what could be done better, then it matters. Then I think you have to use the what ifs on it as an example. But I do agree that sometimes things are over egged with Arsenal. 110%. It can be over egged. Why do rivals have such a hard on for Arteta? My view on this one, bro, is some people have written him off for so long. I think there is this desire to be right. I need to get it right. If he goes and picks up the FA Cup, the Champions League, or the Premier League, it's a 4 or 5 year. And by the way, they'll try and twist it and bookmark this moment. Save a little clip. They'll say, yeah, but I wasn't wrong about the other seasons because I said he wouldn't win the league and he didn't. No, their claim is never win a major trophy, not this particular season. So that's why they're doubling down hard. That's why they're putting the pressure on Arsenal fans to turn on him, because if he gets sacked before winning anything, they can say they were right. There is a lot of it is a desperation to be right, which is why you guys could win your next 8-9 games on the bounce looking amazing, have one bad performance and a draw, and all this comes back out again with the same vim, because it's about, I need my agenda, I need my prediction to come true. That's what that's
the thing about Arsenal as well is that they're very hard to beat. Even if you want to be really critical this season, they're very hard to beat. Man City didn't beat them. That was a brilliant goal, by the way, the equaliser. And Liverpool beat them because we saw the goal of the season. You know, like nobody's saving that. Nobody's saving that. So then the thing about Arsenal is they're not. You're right. They're not definitively bad, but there was a time where people were printing T-shirts, and nobody likes it when it gets that bad, and they don't get proved right.
Yeah, no, I hear you completely. I hear you completely. There's definitely that mix. Viewers, we've got another video for you now. And this video takes me back to 2017 when I was very fortunate to be at the FIFA Best Awards. And was very much told at the time, you know, content creation wasn't even a word. The word influencer, I don't even think existed. And we were told to be on our very best behavior. But this is a group of influencers at the Ballon d'Or Awards greeting Victor Gyökeres when he arrived. Let's take a little listen.
You'll never sing that! You'll never sing that! You'll never sing that! Champions of Europe! Chelsea! 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 Get down! Get down, Gyökeres! Champions of Europe! You'll never sing that! Chelsea for life!
It's been quite a bit of controversy with this, and a lot of content creators saying, you know, you've been given this access, which is amazing. is this the right time and place to be chanting in a football player's face?
It doesn't. Look, if you want to, if people like, I think like when you open the door in this industry, you've got to behave in a certain way. So with the Bundesliga rights on That's Football, I'm very conscious that that's a groundbreaking thing. I want that to happen with other content creators. I want that to be the norm because I'm proud of the space that we've created. So I'm not going to get it and start going, who's this fucking bag of shit? What's going, I'm just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So I think when you see someone like that, you sort of like go, you're probably not going to get invited now. And other people might not get invited now because you've done that. And also, what are you champions of Europe? What are we talking about? Is he having a go at Arsenal because they've not? I presume it's because Arsenal haven't won a European Cup and Chelsea have. But Gyökeres has only just signed for Arsenal. I don't know. Look, maybe it's an age thing. Some people might look at it and go, "Oh, legend! This is brilliant content." But I sort of look at it and go, even if I was a Chelsea fan, I'm like, yeah, what what's that all about?
My nan used to say something to me, and I'm probably going to butcher this. I'm going to butcher this saying, but my nan used to say that when one generation tolerates a sin, the next generation celebrates it, and the next generation doesn't know that it's a sin anymore. And my nan was very religious, right? So that's where she meant it from. But it's always kind of stuck with me about behavior in the sense of the generation of content creators. I think it's changed already. And it's this element of, I think people have done similar before and it's just sort of been tolerated at these types of events. So then the next generation now, there's a younger generation that are celebrating this kind of behavior as content creators. And I see this in the content creating space when it comes to pranks. And it drives me mad, but I think it's because I'm an old man, where they do a prank on someone, which makes somebody angry. And it could be a really bad prank. I've seen some where they've like stolen someone's luggage at an airport. I've seen it where a man and his wife are out and a man will walk up and say something very inappropriate to someone's wife. The man will get angry. Or I've even seen other men like in the gym, they'll say we're going to film something and they might touch the man in a very inappropriate place. The guy gets angry and the current generation think it's acceptable just to go, it's a prank, chill out. Why are you getting angry? It was a prank. And I'm sitting there like, but it wasn't a prank to that person. What you've done is overstepping the mark. But there's a generation, because that behavior has been tolerated for so long, the next generation celebrate it. The issue is, if it isn't pushed back against, the next generation of YouTube content creators, this won't even be a talking point. It will just be the standard behavior. And I'm a bit like you. I don't hate on this person. Good luck to him and whatever else. But I look at it and think, surely content creation's got to be a bit more than that. I think if he's having a face-to-face conversation and he throws in a little bit of, you should have joined Chelsea instead, or a little joke if they've just beaten them, it's fine. But I look at that and maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe I'm shouting at clouds. Let me know. But my hot take on this is just, if we start allowing this type of behavior from content creators towards players, it's either going to get a lot worse and be horrible, or they're going to shut the door completely on everybody. And a lot of us in this space, whether you're a TikToker, whether you do Fox Pops, what you've done, Mark, what Robbie has done in this space, Red Men, the doors that have been opened. And I sometimes don't think the new generation pay enough homage or respect to the work that had to go into getting these doors opened. And don't go in there and ruin it. Don't go in there and damage it for the next group of people. Be a little better behaved, For me,
it is banter. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's banter, and some people will find it funny. That's fine. I'm not an old miserable git. I see the banter, and if those awards and the players are like, yeah, we love this, let's do more of it, then that will become the norm. My feeling is they will go, we don't like that. It's not what we want, so we won't let anyone in. And that's happened to us with United and press conferences. Like, there's been times where somebody has, reacted to a United video who's a player, totally out of context, and we don't get access to the next press conference because of it, even though we're not doing anything wrong. And you just have to go, well, ultimately, that's, whether it's fair or not, that's just the way it is. So you can't, look, it's banter, whatever, like that. It's funny for some people, that's great. But I do think that, there is a new media now, and it's just about, like, do you want to be part of that new media? And if you want to be part of that new media, then you can be, but don't close the door. And
Well, I met a couple of footballers on Saturday, and I didn't really have any clothes on, and I was.
Oh yeah, what's going on here? Hanging around the showers again. You get locked up for that, Terry. How many more clubs are you going to get banned from? He goes in through the window and gets in the showers.
It was actually worse. It was worse than that. It was in a car park.
Oh God!
But I went out Saturday evening, and I was parked in Canary Wharf, and quite a lot of the West Ham players live there, and I was getting changed outside my car because my car's too small to get changed inside it, and Falkirk and Bowen were in there, and I just sort of said,
in the car.
Not in the car, walking past the car, right? It's like Hampstead Heath in there. It's crazy. But I was just like, hello, gents.
It sounds like your bloody dog in here. What's going on? Jared Bowen don't need this.
And yeah, it was just like, hello, and a little chat. And then Falkirk came back with his missus about 5 minutes later. I was fully dressed by this point, right?
Gonna get her involved. Definitely doggy.
And I just said, oh, mate, so it ain't really working out for you at West Ham at the minute, is it? And he went, oh, yeah, it's tough times at the minute. I said, come good, though. Just had literally a couple of second interactions. I quite like Falkirk. I think he's a decent striker. Love watching him at Dortmund last year. What that young man's done, maybe that's his thing. Maybe that's what he is as a content creator. So maybe he got invited. He's a bit of a prankster. He does inappropriate things, but it's comedic. And maybe we've taken it out of context, and that's fine. But I just think if you don't have your camera with you, would you shout at a football player and chant at him in the street like that? Probably not. That's when I find it a little bit unauthentic, But
did you see the one? I don't normally watch this sort of stuff, but I do find it funny. There was maybe it was in the Championship. There's a guy having a go at the away fans, and he's going, "Rrr," and then he suddenly stops, gets his phone out, and holds it like that, and then starts again. He's having a right go at the away fans, and then the brain clicks and goes, this would be great if I film it. So he stops, but he's a bit like me with his phone. He's like, it takes him a bit of time to find his camera, and he's like, oh. So he stops for about 10 seconds. Then he finds it. He's like, yeah, you fucking. It's just like, it's content's content, isn't it? Content's content.
Absolutely. Speaking of content, Liverpool play Palace this weekend. Palace unbeaten in about 19 games. Just take a little look at this clip.
Games unbeaten. They have won 9 of them and drawn 8, and in them 17 games that includes their FA Cup semi-final, final and Community Shield, where obviously they beat Aston Villa, Manchester City and Liverpool. Very, very good opposition. And to be honest, this is a team who, despite losing Michael Elise last summer, despite losing Aberi Eze this summer, have still sort of kicked on, yet to be beaten, of course, in the Premier League. They're in Europe. They beat the first team in Europe over 2 legs, and I want to really explain as to why Oliver Glasner has been so good at Crystal Palace. And yeah, a really, really brilliant start to the season from Crystal Palace, and they have been brilliant since the start of last season. Not just in the league, but they've now won 2 trophies after winning their first in the FA Cup against Manchester City. So it's a massive, massive season for Palace, and I think Oliver Glasner deserves huge credit, and I have no problem in calling him sort of one of the most underappreciated managers in the league, because a 17-game unbeaten run in the Premier League when you're not one of the big 6 teams across Europe, across a semi-final, a final in the FA Cup, a Community Shield, you don't really hear of that. And even in the last 29 games, they've only lost 3 of them, and the 3 they lost, 2 of them are Man City away, Newcastle away.
Liverpool go there play them this weekend. I think it's at Selhurst Park, unless my memory elapsed me. How do you see this one going? Liverpool have been pretty unstoppable, even though not at their best so far. How do you see this going at the weekend, mate?
Yeah, they're interesting, Crystal Palace, because they have this sort of acknowledgement that probably deserves more. Because I remember last season, I was saying it on That's Football, it was around sort of maybe March time, and I did jinx them a bit because they then went and conceded about 4 goals to somebody, but they had the best away record for defence goals conceded. Arsenal obviously had the best defence, but their away defensive record was like really low for goals conceded. So he builds it on a strong defence, and then like I watched mostly I watched them in the FA Cup last year, and their ability on the break. I'd love to know what their efficiency levels are, because they break and score. Like the opposition can have 70% possession, but they will break and score. My inclination is that Liverpool will find a way of winning it, because that's what Liverpool have done this season. But I hope, for the Premier League's sake, that they can get a result against Liverpool on Saturday, because I think, as much as you have to admire the fact that Liverpool have won 5 from 5, there are points there that they maybe should have dropped. And in the context of the Premier League, we all know that Liverpool at some point are going to play better than they are. And then they become very, very difficult to get near. I mean, Arsenal fans might start worrying about invincible soon. So I hope Palace do beat them. But I think sometimes, like H is there, and I've just said there, we're building Palace up, but the proof is in the pudding. I still think that, records are there to be broken. And I don't think, because they've not been beaten in 17 and they've got a good defence and they're very efficient on the break, I don't think that necessarily makes them favourites against Liverpool. I think Liverpool come into that game almost with more of an aura, even though we all know that they're not playing that well. But that's scary when you play a team that aren't playing well but find a way to win. And I think Liverpool will probably find a way to win again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That there just seems to be something about them at the moment. What I am shocked about is the TV company. It's on at 3:00. This is a game I think everybody would like to watch.
Well, I'm doing a watch along for it.
Yeah. Well, I have NordVPN and Setanta Sports, so I can legally watch it. It might be against the terms of Setanta Sports, but that's not the law at the end of the day. So, but they say
just on that, I was going to do a video on that. So this is an exclusive. The guy, I think his name's John West, or maybe he does tuna, but there's a guy. There is a guy called. Basically, he was part of the TV deal in '88 that sort of blacklisted 3 p.m. games, although it goes back to the 60s. He did an interview this week saying it needs to stop. Like, it needs to stop because everybody's finding ways to watch it anyway. So the Premier League needs to legalize it so they can monetize it, which I agree with. I don't mind paying more money on my subscription to watch every game.
No, I think people would be absolutely fine with that to a large extent. And I think it's something funny about streaming services with changing your geolocation via like NordVPN is Amazon Prime would never work with it. So even if I was in a foreign country and wanted to watch my Prime, but wanted to watch something that was only on the English version, it wouldn't work. Go VPN detected. Try putting it in the States or Canada, it would just go no VPN detected. It wouldn't even open the app. Now that thing, if you're in the app and you're in England and you change your VPN, say you're in America, it just reloads itself, and they're like, great, because they've realized actually we need to let people do this because it means, people might not want to subscribe if they're in the UK, but there might be things that we have in America that someone in the UK would then subscribe to Amazon Prime over and just change their location. And that's also what's going to happen. And I think, a lot of these companies we've got the rights. There's nothing in the rights that means you just let VPNs work on your app, and people around the world will, rather than pay £80 a month to Sky, you can pay $3.99 a month to Setanta Sports, and you get every single game. The world's getting more and more expensive. People are going to do it. So the Premier League have to look at this, because eventually, and now everyone's got smart TVs. You can just put the VPN on your smart TV. Like, you can just do this, and it's right, because at the end of the day, it's so expensive to watch football in this country, and the rest of the world, not everywhere. Like China, it's mad expensive. It's about 3 times the price we pay. But in lots of countries around the world, it's a pittance in comparison. And they get more games. So, yeah, I think it's the right thing. I love what they've done on Sundays, though, now that every game on a Sunday you can watch. You can just tune into whichever one you want, which, again, used to annoy me when they'd move, especially when we were in the Europa League, and the amount of games got moved to Sundays, but we couldn't watch them. You're thinking, come on, I'm paying so much money and I can't watch them. It's crazy. But there we go. Listen, people, I want to thank everyone who's tuned into the show this morning. Mark, always a pleasure to sit here and speak football with you. We're back later today with a new show, which is called Challenge Terry. It's not like Challenge Annika, where I'm running around the country doing tasks.
I'd tune into that. I would tune into
that. It's about calling in. We're going to have some talking points, agreeing or disagreeing with me on them. So a phone-in show, but with a little bit of a twist. And also FIFA career mode starting very, very soon on the terrace. I've got everything set up. I'm going to see if I'm better than Mark, actually. We should play each other at FIFA, actually. We should do a little thing. Yeah. But
start pro clubs.
Yeah, we should do something. We should do a bit of content around that. But that's all coming very soon. On
You should
TFC.
watch my pro clubs. I played with like very good players, and I got man of the match, and I scored. Did it at the FIFA event last week. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was playing with Angry Ginge, Bates, and they're all bloody proper FIFA players. Crap in the first game. Second game, found my play as a holding midfielder, winning tackles, ventured forward, cuts it back, scored. I was like a pig in shit. I was absolutely so proud of myself. I wouldn't shut up. It was good.
Love it. No, I'll be honest with you, I'm a bang average player, but that's kind of the enjoyment of it and everything else. So that's coming soon. United Stand, everyone, back at 2 p.m. today, and of course 8 p.m. tonight. So make sure you're tuning in to the United Stand. Listen, until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.